All right. And I wanted to get to now, after the giveaways and everything, how I feel as though every time I say this is from us being where we're at right now. We did 133,000 in volume to getting us to double. And I think I really want to grow to more than double. I think by the end of this year, we have it within just our leadership group. I see it happening, but we need that guidance. And I didn't think of anyone better than Eric Schmidt. And I don't think any of you guys have heard too much of Eric Schmidt just because we have a young agency. But Eric Schmidt is an integrity partner, a Hall of Fame producer, agency owner of FFL Northeast, but a multiple Hall of Fame producer. I believe his agency is a Hall of Fame agency as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Correct.
he's.
Yeah.
But more than anything, Eric, for me personally, whenever I've been able to go and when I go to conventions, I think it's really important to find people that are in like their 2 feet. Dave Anderson says that, like people that are there to really help you. And to me, this is what I want to share with my group is you've always really been there on your 2 feet. Hear me, you gave me your contact information the very first time. A great person to me. And I felt like when you got on Marissa's call, it was just a reminder of that. And so I'm really privileged to have you now pour into us. Guys, he really doesn't even need to. He's over on the East Coast, so it's late. Literally doesn't get paid a single dollar for this. So if you guys do have questions, this is golden hour to really get it from Eric. It's so valuable. So Eric, I thank you so much for coming on. And if you could just please open with telling us how you even heard about FFL. Now I kind of have an idea. You were selling cars to Sean, but I want to hear from you. How did you get connected with FFL?
So, first of all, Diego, appreciate you inviting me on. It's an honor and a privilege to be able to help everybody. Your team is exploding, and you can just see like it's just like vibrating, right? So when it starts hitting that vibration level, you can just know things are ready to explode. So, congratulations to all the people that are on here tonight and the team that's growing. Been looking. I've had a pretty crazy day. Professionally and personally today. So this has been the highlight of my professional day. Looking forward to this today. So appreciate you having me on tonight. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
So just, a teeny bit about me. Nothing special. I'm 52. I've been married almost 27 years. We have a 19-year-old in college and a 15-year-old and 13-year-old daughters that are going to be a sophomore in high school and an eighth grader. They're doing what all teenagers do in the summertime and volleyball camps and dance recitals and sleeping over friends' houses and playing in the pool and doing all that stuff. And I went to the University of Connecticut. Sean went to Eastern Connecticut State University. So colleges that are about 15, 20 minutes away from each other. And we never, we didn't run together. We didn't hang out together at all in college. But when I graduated from University of Connecticut in 94, I started working at a car dealership that was owned by his best friend's family. And so that's how Sean and I first met in about 1997. He introduced me to simplified issued life insurance as an independent contractor in 2008. I studied for my exam. I failed it horribly. He only provided me half of the information I needed in order to pass. There was no Excel solutions or whatever the other thing that we used to use. It was all just pamphlets of paper. And so the next time I took the exam, I passed it by. I failed it by 1 point, and then on the third try, I passed it. And then in 2009, I was diagnosed with cardiomyopathy and atrial fibrillation. Plus, the country was going through a crazy economic, real estate meltdown in 2008. I was in the car business still, and Carrie and I just had our second baby in December of '08. So I just kind of stayed focused on the automotive business there, and then fast forward another 10 years, and through the power of Facebook and social media, I was watching all these men and women that were claiming that they were doing big things and helping lots and lots of families. And I was just like, if these guys or gals are really doing this, and they're younger than me, older than me, different ethnicity, different backgrounds, different parts of the country, I said, if these guys are doing this and they're controlling their schedule and they're making this kind of income by helping this kind of families, there's no way I can't do it. So I reached out to Eric Anthony through Facebook Messenger, telephone, like the little telephone button. So you call people on Facebook, because I didn't have his telephone number. He was living in Texas. And I reached out to him, and I sat down with Sean. I studied for the exam, got through all the material in 8 days while working full time at the dealership still, and passed it on the first time. We got like a 73 or 74. And that was in December 4th, 2018. And then I took the next 90 days or so, really figuring out how I was going to replace my $275,000 a year in W-2 income that I was making at the dealership. I'm the only income in my household. We have no safety net. We have no golden parachute. We have no trust fund. It was just all on me. And no matter where you live in the country, it's expensive, but Connecticut is definitely expensive when you have 3 children and a mortgage and car payments and education and, activities and everything that's going on in life. So I had to know that I was going to be able to replace that income before I walked away from the dealership. I went to convention in February 19. That was super important to me because I wanted to see Dominique Rogers and Frank Euphemia and all these other people that, I was watching on YouTube and seeing their numbers, but I wanted to see them in person because I still, even though, Sean is a friend of mine, Eric Anthony is a friend of mine, I still needed to prove that it was a real opportunity for me. So February, whatever the last day is there, February 28th, I flew out to Las Vegas and went to my first convention, and found out that it was definitely real for sure. And I talked to, some leaders in the company that I had no relationship with, and told them my fears, and went back and hit the ground running for another month and a half. And then, I definitely knew that I could replace my income, and went full time in April of 2019. We were still doing everything face to face at that time, Diego. So from April of 2019, I did 479 families that year, face to face, put about 70,000 miles on my car. 2020, I helped like 603 families that year, again, all face to face. And then in November of 21, I received an offer from Integrity and Brian W. Adams, the co-founder and CEO of Integrity, and we came together and made an agreement for me to become a managing partner with Integrity. And this year, I've made a commitment to be back selling again, hit Hall of Fame, not only as an agency, but also as a personal producer. It's not easy. Definitely it's definitely a challenge. I'm about 225 families year to date. So I got another 175 to go. So got a little bit more than 4 months to do it. So just grinding that out and having fun doing it. So I'm excited to be here, answer any questions anybody has. And
no, that was amazing. And that gives me so many things I can ask questions on. And honestly, guys, if you do, feel free to, ask a question, because it's really unique. And I don't want to be the guy that says I got all the power questions for you, Eric. But I did, as you said that, you had a job, 275 W-2 income, to then replace that. Some people are right now maybe working like a 65,000 a year income, and they want to replace that, and that's the only thing they want to do. How did you then make the time and like piece it together? And how much did you feel like you needed to make to then have it make sense? Because I feel like sometimes people are like, well, this is, commission only versus over there is a W-2. How did you handle that? And with your wife too, because I feel like, she has to see the vision as well. How is that for you, getting from that 275 rotating into, replacing that income? That's big.
So I think the first thing, like you mentioned, there was a big conversation with family. They all had to know what the next 90 days or so was going to look like. With 168 hours in a week, you sleep for 50 of them. So you got 110, 115 left. I was working at the dealership 60 hours. So I had about 40 to 50 hours left. So how was I going to take advantage of those hours? This was before we were doing telesales. So even though I'm on the East Coast, I couldn't take advantage of mountain standard, mountain, central, Pacific, Alaska, California, Hawaii time zones. I couldn't take advantage of those time zones. So all I had was the time that I had here on the East Coast. So it was a full-time. So a lot of times people say, well, I'm going to go part-time, then full-time. Well, that's kind of bogus. I don't buy into that. I don't think it works. I don't think it's good for your head. I think full-time works. So I was full-time at the dealership. It was about 45 minutes from my house. So, and, I learned a lot of this from Zach Twardowski, who I met for the first time in February of that first convention, and really just wanted to master my schedule and take full advantage and inventory all my time. Fortunately for me, I don't have a lot of hobbies. I don't, drink. I don't golf. I don't boat. I don't hike. I work out, and I'm with family, and I work. So I really, took advantage of every hour that we had in a week. So like my day off at the dealership was on Thursday. My night off was on Monday, and I worked 1 or 2 Sundays a month. So the hours that I wasn't at the dealership, then I was doing this. So like literally I had the schedule, like at lunchtime, I would go to the break room and I would dial leads, or I would just get in my car and I would find an abandoned parking lot somewhere and I would just dial leads and make appointments. So I always wanted to make sure that when I left the dealership at night, I had at least 3 appointments on my way home. Okay, from Cheshire, I don't know where you guys live, but Cheshire, Connecticut to Ellington, Connecticut, it's about 45-minute drive. And if I had to go into Springfield or Hartford or any of these different counties, I would. And my goal wasn't to meet with all 3. My goal was to meet with 1. But I knew that I was going to get let down. I knew there was going to be a 1-leg or a no-show, or a fake family emergency or whatever. So I always wanted to have at least 3 appointments heading home. So I knew I was going to be able to connect with 1. On my day off, it was, door knocking and, running face to face. And then on, Friday night after work, I got out at 6, Saturday, I got out at 5, and then Sunday all day. And again, everyone was on board. There was some things that were non-negotiable that I still had to do for family, but other than that, I had to prove to myself that I could replace that W-2 income, right, Diego? So I think really inventorying your time is big. And I was writing down a couple of things while you were talking about your announcements. But I think that's number one, how people really do an extremely poor job of controlling their schedule. There's something called money making time, and there's something called non-money making time. Okay. So money making time for me is from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern. Okay. Non-money making time is when you watch your videos, you catch up on podcasts, you learn about new products, you practice illustrations, you email carriers if you're trying to follow up with, cases that are going behind, if you have some conservation opportunities, persistency, that's 9 p.m. to 8 a.m. Okay. So, just when it's 9 p.m., Eastern time, doesn't mean that I'm clicking off and going to Netflix and, that's it. That's time for me to do all the stuff that I can't do when I'm calling clients. Now, with time zone advantages, it's only 5:30 in California. You guys might live in California. So it's still super early there, right? So now you can take advantage of those time zones. So, the non-money making window has closed a little bit, but I mean, like for Excel, do any of you guys get, Desiree, do you get your Excel solution email every day?
Seeing like how many people are in coursework?
Yeah. Do you get that in the morning, or does someone on your team get it?
Someone else on the team gets it, like the report.
Yeah. So I get that every morning at 3:15 a.m. Eastern. So one of the first things I look at when I wake up is that. I'm like, okay, how many people in the course? How many people are active? What percentage of completion? When they last log in? I want to see all that. And, a lot of I have 31, 32 legs that are direct to me in my agency, so I want to see exactly where those people are, what stage they're at. And I'll text them right away, because I've already told them during the recruiting process, these are the expectations. This is when I find out how you're doing. I am going to follow up with you. I am spending money to get you into the course. I am spending resources and time, to connect with you. So, so I mean, Now, once I see that email, I typically go back to bed for an hour or two before I start hitting the gym and get my day going. But I start as soon as I see it. So
Yeah. No, you breathe it, Eric, and that's awesome. One thing I was going to ask you is, hold on. There we go. Now, when you were doing those sprints at the very beginning, did you do it towards like obviously you go, hey, I want to replace my income and we need to make at least, was it like 20,000, you're going towards an income goal, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Did you also have a vacation goal with your family or something that you were trying to obtain? Or was it just
No.
replace my income so we can now be on this ride instead of this ride?
Yeah. Yeah. It was, again, we do go on vacation. We've been to Disney World. We've been to Orlando. We go to the beach and stuff. But my goal at that time was to remove myself from the 60 hours a week plus, commute that I was spending inside the showroom, Diego, to doing this, right? Sorry, hold on one second.
Yeah, you're fine.
So, so that was my number one goal, right?
Yeah.
And then, and also I didn't want to wait to start recruiting because the one thing that I heard at that February 2019 convention was it would be selfish of me not to share this opportunity with other people just because I didn't know what I was doing, that I wasn't that good at it, that I didn't understand every little nook and cranny of this opportunity didn't mean that I shouldn't be sharing it with other people that I thought this would put them in a better position. So some of the people I shared it with in the very beginning are still with me. Some are not, and that's okay. But I didn't think it was fair for me to withhold that information. Now, in the very, very beginning, obviously I couldn't blast it out on social because, my bosses at that time would have been like, what the fuck are you doing? You're supposed to be working full time for us and here you are doing this. Yeah. So I had to be, educated about it, but I got loud about it as soon as April came for sure.
Yeah. And now how are you recommending for your agents, just moving on to helping our, a new agent? What are you guys going mortgage protection or are you recommending how would you know what to recommend to your new agent? What are you telling them?
I think,
you do
what
final
I'm doing
expense,
right now
right?
pardon me?
You do final expense, right?
Correct. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And, I do, I'm not opposed to helping people with IULs and fixed index annuities. But I just think, final expense is so easy. I mean, it's whole life, the policy starts today and it ends when you die. There's not a lot to learn. I go to, and you guys might be doing something different in your agency, which is fine. But, I use either the underwriting genie or insurance toolkits. I underwrite underwrite the deal. And, typically if they qualify for a sendo, that's where I go first. Why? Because there's one text message and that's it. Now I know for the last several weeks, the sendo has been a little bit of a shit show, but they're back up. I know you guys got the text from Sean today. And I'm sure it got shared out to you guys. If it didn't, I can share it with you, but I start there and, I start with preferred. If they get declined preferred, then I'll go typically I'll do a pre-approval with Americo. If they get pre-approved with Americo, then I'll work with either Prosperity, Aflac, or who's the other one I go to right away? I can't even think right now. It's been a crazy day, but whatever's easiest is typically what I do. American Amicable is very simple. It's not typically one of the ones that brand new agents have in the very beginning. So I don't want to blow you and Desiree up if a lot of people don't have AmAm here, but I think they're a really good carrier because it's one text, you get a confirmation code and they send them a link and simply all they have to do is type their name in at the body on the bottom of the application. And if for some reason they've disclosed the medication that they're on. So like if I send you in, Diego, and at the very end it says, hey, the prescription came back with ProAir. Is that for, COPD? And I'll just ask the client if it's a yes, it's a yes. If it's a no, it's a no. And then just because mutual is a little bit more challenging, yes, they are cheaper. Okay. But I mean, my persistency and my aging, we run around 87.8% persistency. So, it doesn't really make a difference who the carrier is, but, our persistency is super high at 87.8.
Yeah.
It's even higher, with some, but, if you average them all out, it's at 87.8.
Yeah.
Mutual, sometimes the pop-ups come up and, they don't understand how to get through a couple things. So, it's a recognizable name. It's usually less expensive. I don't like how they don't give instant decisions. And I don't like how challenging it is for clients.
Well, Eric, I want to ask you right there as you bring that up. 87% persistency with whole life is a really big deal because, guys, they talked about at convention that the IUL's persistency is average about 90%. And usually the company is like with whole life is 70%. So you're almost getting your agents like a 20% raise about with your guys' whole life. And I love whole life, Eric. To me, we actually were an agency that was doing only final expense, and then we moved into mortgage. Now we're really doing both. And that's why I love asking you about all the final expense, because it's right in the wheelhouse of some of the agents are just in the home, and some of them are rotating into doing it virtual, but they do that final expense is what, is definitely a bread and butter of what we do. For that, what are some tips you could say that's helped your agency increase the persistency with the whole life? Sometimes those guys are on social security checks. But is there certain things that you guys did that made it a big difference, or is it just slow and steady and then it just staying the same?
I think it's a combination of a lot of things. I think it's having enough opportunities, not having commission met breath, having, being able to listen to a client and not have to press. I think if you go in light with, people to dial, I think that is just going to raise your voice. It's going to raise your voice inflection. It's going to change your tone. It's going to change your posture. Low and slow is the way that these calls want to be. You want to sound like you're more interested in the next call than the call you're on. So when you start talking fast and it's just like, okay, we're going to lose this guy, and you might close him, but he ain't going to stay. He or she's not going to stay on the books. Are you guys using Legacy Safeguard in your agency, Diego?
We really haven't. No.
Yeah, that's a huge mistake.
Even virtually, Eric, you've been doing it virtually as well.
Oh, absolutely. So I would, I'll put it in the chat here, Legacy Safeguard University.com.
And then if you don't mind, because I would love to dive into that a little bit. When do you introduce that to the client? Because it's free and we all have access to it. How would we be able to, would you recommend we introduce it in a final expense sale? And
so on final expense, I have the client write down a few things. So I go through their health, right? And I can go through my whole script with you. I can share it here. I can share my screen and show it to you guys or whatever. But
you can share the screen. It'll be recorded.
Yeah. I don't care. Whatever. It'll make a difference to me. So I have them write down a few things. And one of the last things I have them write down, Diego, is Legacy Safeguard. So I talk about immediate coverage, level plan, tax-free, living benefit, cash value, double accidental payout if they qualify, permanent coverage. And one of the last things I say is Legacy Safeguard. And I really slow down even more on Legacy Safeguard. And I talk about how there's grief counseling, legacy help, and guidance, bereavement travel, funeral home locator, filling out the death certificate, making the insurance claim. There's a lot of emotional times when people pass away, and it's a very confusing time for when people pass away. And when that happens, they don't want to have to do it all on their own. They probably just lost their best friend in their whole entire life. And now they're trying to figure out this whole entire thing so they can, do the cremation, the burial, the funeral. Some people want to be, flown home to their home country. Some people want to be flown home to their home state. They have no idea how to do that. So to have a company like Legacy Safeguard University, Legacy Safeguard University is where you go to learn about it. But Legacy Safeguard, literally to have someone hold your hand and walk you through the entire process is so huge. And they actually send out a really hard plastic card inside the envelope, one that the insured can keep, the other card they can share with the beneficiary. It has my name on it, my phone number on it. So when I close a policy, and let's just use, Aetna CVS Life Ascendo, I say, hey, look out for these two things in the mail: Aetna CVS Health Ascendo. Okay, I have them write it down. And I say, look and write down Legacy Safeguard, because a lot of people throw away a lot of their mail before it even gets into the house.
Yeah.
And I always want them to look out for that. And I've actually sold policies to people that I haven't been able to close on the initial call, but I still have enrolled them in Legacy Safeguard, because it doesn't cost me anything. It doesn't cost, FFL anything. It doesn't cost the client anything. And maybe they had some reservations if I was a real person or if this was a real deal. And when they see that come in the mail and they read about the benefits and it matches the benefits that I spoke about, and it has my name and it has their name and it has their spouse's or partner's name on it, they've called me up and say, hey, you know what? I know we didn't want to get that the other day, but I think we want to move forward with it and get that. Can we go over that again? So I think it finds sales, it finds referrals, and it helps with persistency at a great rate. And it's nothing that it's an integrity exclusive product. So if there's other IMOs or NMOs or FMOs or all the other little letters that are, reaching out to clients, this is something that they can't offer. So if the 20 people, well, Desiree's using it, if the 19 people on here aren't using it, it's a huge error and a mistake for you guys.
Yeah. We have a couple questions here. I'm going to go in the direction of producing, and then we'll kind of move it and I'll ask all the questions. But in terms of final expense now, are you finding annuities through that as well? And then if so, how are you doing it?
Well, I asked the golden question because it's on my financial inventory worksheet. Do you have anything else that acts like life insurance, such as 401k, 403b, TSP, CD, significant savings account? Have you recently sold any properties? Do you have, a lot of money sitting in savings or anything like that? If they say yes, I say, okay, what do you, and again, you guys, I see Desiree on every single call. So, she sees me, I see her, so I ask all the questions, if you're on a call today, you hear Jesse talking. He did an amazing job today. But I ask those questions. Hey, can you give me a water, please? I just want water. Pink. Okay. I don't know what you're talking about. That's my 15-year-old. The question was pink or blue. I said pink. What was I saying real quick, Diego?
Annuities with FX.
Yeah. So I asked that golden question. I asked that information, and like, I think, the guy that was talking the other day, how much do you carry in that account? And I just make a note, I write it down, and I circle back. I don't suffocate it. I don't squash it like a bug on the wall. I just, take the information and move forward, and then I always circle back with that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
This was not the paper.
Thank you. So yes, I do. It's not a big part of my business, but it is we have just under about $10 million under advisement with Athene. So it's not a huge amount, but it's something that we talk about, often for sure.
No, that's great. And now more into the recruiting side, two questions. One is, for new people, why do you feel, from being in the industry, seeing it a lot longer? Sometimes I feel like I'm like, oh, I know FFL, but hearing it from you, being even longer and more experience, more things that maybe have been appealing. Why do people hang their hat in FFL? And then the other question is, and maybe we can ask that next, but it's like recruiting your warm market early on. Someone would like to be better at recruiting their warm market. How would you do that? Which I think ties with, knowing why you get into this in FFL versus any other agency.
Yeah. And I see that you allowed me to share my screen. So I'll share my screen in a second on that, a couple of things I do, but what was the first part of the question? Oh, I feel like Biden right now. I can't remember
why the insurance industry compared to any other industry.
Yeah. Well, so, and again, specific to FFL, right? I think that's how you phrased it. A lot of people, I do recruiting and I get on calls and they're like, well, and they've heard other pitches from other people, or maybe they're in some other 3-letter companies that make them memorize scripts, make them get on calls, have to do this, have to do that. So I really focus on the fact that you're independent here. Okay. We encourage people to do a lot of things, but you're not required to do it. And you hear Grady Polson talk this way a lot. And if you guys have heard him talk once, you've heard him probably say this, but you don't have to go to convention to be successful, but every person that is successful has been to convention. Okay. So, and I love that. And I typically screw that up when I say it, but it is true. Right. So, I think, to go to Ignite in Arizona or Nevada when we all just had it out there, have it in Florida here in a couple months. Going to see Eric Thomas at the end of January in Los Colinas is a non-negotiable, right? I mean, I reserved my hotel room for as soon as they announced the dates. I got my airline as soon as they announced the dates, and I got my tickets, my VIP tickets, as soon as they announced the dates. And I actually bought extra because I knew they were going to sell out. And that's all a write-off. And that's one thing I wrote down here. This is actually a wedding invitation, but I was taking some notes on it. And you were talking about budget and write-off. So, depending on who's helping you guys out with your taxes and stuff like that, you should definitely ask those questions, because these are business expenses that you need write-offs in this business. Unless the first year I didn't do any taxes, I paid it all in one lump sum when I was done. But then in the next year I did quarterlies. So get together with someone smart when it comes to that, because if you really commit to this, you're going to be making big money, and you're going to want to have some plans. But with so does that answer your question on that one, Diego?
No, that did. And then more broad, you come from the the car sales background. Why would you say insurance over any other industry? Because if you're moving from one industry to the next, why pick this one over maybe real estate or like maybe selling businesses or something?
I think if you look at the last couple years, right? What happened with COVID, what we were able to do during these times where real estate's like this, right? Car businesses like this. You see these funny videos on social media where there was a time where car guys were getting 20, 30, 40,000 over sticker price, and they're like rolling in the money. They got the Gucci sunglasses and they're going all bananas, and now they can't give away cars, right? So I'd rather kind of be like this rather than be really high and really low, really high and really low. Because that's what I was like in the car business. Like the good months were great in the car business, but they were never great enough to offset the really poor months. And if anyone has been in the car business, and I was in it for 23 years, it's 100% true. Real estate, at least here in New England, I mean, there's barely any product. Mortgages are not easy. They just came out with some other programming. Mortgages are definitely not easy to get. Interest rates are high. There were some good reports that came out today on Wall Street, but it's not going to affect it crazy. I just, pest control is seasonal. Solar's a lot of door knocking. It's a long pay cycle depending on what the state is. Some states have shorter pay cycles. Some states have longer pay cycles. This is just, this is hard work. It takes a tremendous amount of sacrifice and dedication. But, it's predictable, right? If I'm spending $1,500, a week on leads, okay, and committing this many dials, okay, so it goes leads, dials, pickups, conversations, presentations, applications, approvals, deposits, right? Those are kind of all the layers of the funnel, right? So if you're doing your dial chart, right? If you're dial tracker and you're marking everything down, like when I was in the car business, I knew I was going to get 3 or 4 out of 10. So I needed to see 10 to get 3 or 4. And actually, when I sat down with people, like they always like, oh, I'm going to bring the manager in and see if he can do it. I'm like, you're either part of the 6 or you're part of the 4. I'm cool either way, but I need to see 10 to get 4. So, for a couple $100 away, we'll figure it out. If we're not, that's cool too. But I need to get 10 to get 4,
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same deal in this thing, right? So I think, where people get off track, and Sean talked about this the other day on Close and Conquer, and I put that link in here earlier. I put the link to join Sean's Friday phone call. If you guys aren't on that call, I don't know what you're doing for $10. It's actually, not even $10, because you can write it off. It's 120 bucks a year, and you can write it off. But that is an amazing phone call to be on, and you should share it with your buddies, right? So
Yeah.
like I see Tyler and Washington and Nancy and Haley on here, people that you guys know in your life that might be in different industries, just say, hey, jump on this call every Friday at 12 or 12 Eastern, and all the other calls, they're all recorded, but I mean, it's just a no-brainer to be on that call. But he talked about that on that call, and how you just want to have that type of commitment on this thing.
No, that's really great. And I have 2 questions because we're running kind of close, and still we have more time. But now
I got time, dude, so don't worry about it.
Oh, sweet. Well, Micaiah asked, she's fairly new, say 3-4 months into the business, wants to get better at recruiting people, her friends. Even to you, you said you couldn't just blast it on social media.
Yeah.
How would you say we can? Micaiah, you want to unmute? We can pin her down. She wants to get better. Micaiah, unmute.
Can you hear me?
Hey, Micaiah.
Hi. Yeah, so I was just, so I'm fairly new and I really want to recruit those around me. I'm pretty young, so it's a lot of like 22-year-olds who I feel like I'm just trying to figure out how I can best recruit directly them and my warm market and get them to see the importance of this.
Okay. What are you doing now?
What do you mean?
What are you doing now for recruiting?
Oh, I've been utilizing my social media a lot. I've been working with Diego and Desi a lot, and just, posting every day to build my credibility, talking about insurance, showing what it can do.
What are you posting? Like what are you showing for credibility? What are you doing?
So I post a couple things, like a few a day. Sometimes I'll post, I show my face in there. I post like quotes about insurance or to other lifestyle things that provides value to people. And then sometimes I'll like repost stuff that some of the other insurance agencies post, like Inspire, to show like how people are doing and how it changed their lives.
And how many followers do you have on Instagram?
A little under 900.
Okay, cool. What was it 30 days ago?
I think I've gained about, I don't know the exact number. I've gained around like 20 to 30 followers, maybe.
Okay. And I'm not a social media, expert by any stretch of the imagination, but obviously the bigger the footprint you have, the better, right? So, Marisa, is probably one of the best, doing that. But I think, people, want to be around the fire, right? So if you're helping a lot of families and you can show, proof of concept on yourself on how you're helping people. How long ago did you write your first policy, Micaiah?
In April.
In April, okay. So how many families did you help in June?
In June, I believe I did 9 or 10.
Okay. Okay. So I think, first thing you need to do is increase your personal production, because that's going to increase your personal belief. It's going to increase your pocketbook. It's going to give you the opportunity to not only talk about all the families that you help, but also, be able to afford to boost and, and gain more followers and do things like that. So I think that's one of the things that you need to do first is definitely increase. Now you're currently on track for fast track, right? Do you know what fast track is?
I do a little bit.
You do a little bit?
I've heard of it, but I don't believe I'm doing anything with it.
Okay. Do you guys talk about that at all, Diego?
No, we could do a much better job. Just from those of us that went to convention know about it, but we haven't integrated that.
Yeah. So, so the fast track guide, is something that we talk about a lot. Okay. So once you get contracted, you have to do 5 and 3 in month 1, 7 and 4 in month 2, 10 and 5 in month 3, and then you qualify for the program. And then once you're in the program, as long as you stay on track, then you start getting, training from other Hall of Fame agents, President Sean Mike, this just kind of continues to grow. And then in month 7 or 9, you'll get invited out to Connecticut, and you'll do your TNL and True Talk. So when you're brand new, Makai, these are things that you can talk about, as far as being on fast tracks, so right now I would probably talk about that. Hey, in my first month, I'm pre-qualified for fast track. I'm currently, on track to do my 7 and 4, in the month 2, so these are things that you can start talking to your warm market about.
Okay.
and start talking to them. But I think, keeping it real, Makai, you need to start selling more, right? Now, do you have another full-time job in addition to this full-time job?
No.
Okay, so I would challenge you on what you're doing to only help 9 families in a month. Okay. How many dials where your leads coming from? If you don't have tons of resources to get leads, swap leads with someone else that's brand new, work with, other leaders in your hierarchy on getting some leads. But you should be, what's the most dials you've ever made on one day?
I believe 300.
Okay. So that should be double minimally. Okay. If you're working from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., which is only 12 hours, okay, you're not even taking advantage of different time zones yet. Okay. What state do you live in, Makai?
Washington.
Okay. So you can start dialing at 5 a.m., right? Do you have children or family or anybody you got to take care of?
No.
Okay. So you're not giving me any excuses. I'm trying to find some excuses for you, but you're not giving me any. So you can start dialing at 5 a.m. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. So I would challenge you to increase your dials to 500, 600, 700 a day. Okay. Because that's what it's going to take in order to get this thing to the next level, right? For you to break out of 5, 10, 15 families a month, you're going to have to, put more pay dirt into the front of the funnel. So more drips out the back end. So I think that's where it would start. And then once you start doing that, you start carrying yourself a little bit differently, Makai. Whether it's when you're in the grocery store, you're at Verizon looking at a new phone, you just start to carry yourself a little bit different, how you're posting, what your posture is, what your message is, what you're sharing on social media. And then people start, wanting to hear more about it. Like, what are you doing? Why aren't you at work? What are you doing? Like, those types of things start to happen. But right now you are, I would start, using all these little tools like Fast Track. And I had this up here before. See if I can find it again. I don't know if you have this yet, Makai, on your gateway. Can you guys tell I do life insurance? Like every one of my screens is all this stuff. Where is it? Oh, here it is. So on Gateway, and again, I know they're behind on this, Diego, but on Gateway on the bottom left, there's something called My Web Page.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you seen that before, Diego?
I have. Yeah. I think most of us have it.
Yeah. And then you have this site here. So if you're not super comfortable, Makai, sharing this with your friends, then you can simply just, grab this URL, or you can go to GoDaddy and just kind of make it your own, insure with Makai, and then just have it, forward to this website, or join Team Makai, right? And just have it forward to this website. They'll fill it out. There's a quick 5-minute, 4-minute video, here from Sean, right? There's, why to join us, so on and so forth. So this is a really cool thing, and it's totally free for us. So
yeah. And then Eric, do you have like a dialogue that you would say if I said, "Hey, Eric, I'm going to call my friend who I haven't seen, who I ran into at the, Walmart, and he is a sharp guy, and I think he does sales at like T-Mobile or something. What should I say to him?" Do you have like a specific dialogue that you would recommend we say, that you say? To keep it simple.
Desiree, I know you were on this call. Diego, you might have been the other day, but who was it that was? I mean, I literally would copy what it wasn't Bowen. Was it Bosworth or someone else that was young? And he goes like, whenever I go to those stores, Walmart or Best Buy, like, do you know what I'm talking about, Diego?
Yeah. It might have been Jay Masca.
Jay
maybe.
Masca.
Yeah, it was Masca. It was Masca. I just find the youngest person. I find out how long they've been working there. What are they going to make this year? What's the most they've ever made? Have you ever thought about, doing, something in addition to this? Finding those young people like that, and just have that, so go back to that call. That was FFL Builders, right?
Yeah, the Builders call.
Yeah, I would go to FFL Builders, call, or is it FFL Builder School, whatever what the website is where they house all those calls, And I would take that
Yeah.
exact same thing that Masca does when he's in those stores and do the exact same thing. Because that's what I do. Now, I'm 52, so for me to go up to talk to someone at 21, it's a little bit weird, right? But I, like, so if I'm at the car wash or if I'm picking up something to eat or I'm at the grocery store, I mean, that's where I try to have those types of conversations. I actually have them right here, and I always have them on me. But these are business cards that I have, and it says now hiring, and there's a QR code on there. So a lot of times I'll give this to a server or whatever. There's nothing on the back. It's just super simple. And I'll just say, hey, you know what? I really, actually, we were at a Pizza Hut. This is during lacrosse season this past spring. My son had a game up in New Hampshire, and I had a really good interaction with the server there. And I said, hey, how long you've worked here? Love your attitude, love your smile. I said, and I gave him, I always tip heavy, and I gave him a good tip, and I included this with, and I said, hey, I know you don't have time now, but when you have the opportunity, I'd like you to take a look and hit me up in the next couple of days. So I always carry these around. You can do QR codes on Canva, and you can get these on what's that? So Instaprint or Vistaprint, right? And they're super cheap. So I always carry these around with me. I have them, in my car, in my bag, and in my gym bag everywhere I got it. So I talked to the guys at the gym, talked to people at the gym. I'm like, dude, how much are you gonna make here this year? 42,000. Like, you're worth more than that, right? So those are the types of conversations I have, and just letting them know that there are other things out there, and obviously me knowing the car business as well as I know the car business, I can actually, so if I'm talking to someone in their 20s or 30s and they're in the automotive business, I can already tell them what their next 20 years are going to look like,
right?
Because I've already done it, so those conversations are super easy.
Right. Desi, did you have a question?
Yeah, I had a quick question, Eric, with sales training or sales tips for people who are brand spanking new. Like, what should a full-time person, what's their daily dial goal? Like, what are you telling all your new agents? Hey, this is your spending minimum on leads this week, dials, appointments, we have a lot of new people here. So just so they could get that framework of what it takes to make 30 families a month.
Yeah, I think, I mean, we're all on Zoom dials, right? So like, I mean, when we started, our dial days were Monday and Thursday. I needed to be the first one at the office. Okay. But I had to drive an hour to get to my office. Okay. So with this, it's a little bit easier because we're not going to an office, a lot of us. So, I would want to be the first person on Zoom. I'm going to organize my calls the night before, right? I'm going to, have them in some type of order, whether it's time zone, okay, or age, or I'm going to, so I feel confident about my dial. Now I'm doing this, like I said earlier, Desiree, in my non-money making time. That's when I'm getting organized. That's when I'm listening to call scripts. I mean, I can't even tell you the amount of nights that I fallen asleep to, listening to Jamie Euphemia or Dominique Rogers or any of these people that are amazing on the phone. So I sound like them. I talk like them. I pause when they pause. I talk high when they talk high. I talk low when they talk low. Okay. How do I transition from an objection? Okay. I want to have, FFL card or another type of objection page up there so I can have those objections ready. Right. How am I going to transition? How am I going to control myself from getting too low if I get hung up on and F'd, 25 times in a row? Or how am I going to control myself from getting too high if I just close, a 4 or 5 or 6 family deal? How am I going to get, am I going to dial for 50 minutes and then take 10-minute break, use the restroom, walk around the house, get some water? Or am I going to take, or am I going to dial for 90 minutes and then take a 15-minute break? Like, you got to kind of have that thing going. Can you control yourself to put your phone on do not disturb, when your dial session starts, so you don't get notifications from TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, your mom, whomever, right? I mean, my phone's on do not disturb right now, right? So, use that tool, right? Use the tools that you have to control that. As far as, 40, 50, 60 dials in an hour, I mean, we have Phone Burner on the Integrity Lead Center. We have Wavy through Go High Level. There's a lot of different, we have dialers in the Philippines that can work with us, right? So how many,
Yeah.
like when I was talking to Makai earlier, like 300 dials, it's adorable. It's cute. And no, don't disrespect Makai, but 300 dials when you're not caring for anybody in your family, younger or older than you. I mean, I don't know what you're, I mean, 300 dials is 300 minutes. 300 minutes is 60, 240. It's five times 60. That's 5 hours of dialing, right? 5 hours of dialing. You sleep for 5 hours. Let's say you sleep for 8 hours. 8 minus 24 is 16. 16 minus 5 is 11. What's going on for the other 11 hours of the day? I'm confused, right? Um, so that's where you really need to take control of your schedule, and again, we'll just use Makai just because she stepped out, and I'm super proud, and that she asked the questions, and it's not easy to ask questions on these deals, but it's not like you have this huge book of business that you're following up with. You don't have all these policies that are dangling with a Transamerica or an NLG. They're not getting hung up anywhere. You're not working on these huge annuities that take hours of work. You should be dialing, and working on overcoming those objections, and texting, and emailing, and just nonstop. It should be like crazy nonstop.
Yeah. That was great. Honestly, Eric, that was really good. I have one more question that I wanted to get from you more personally, I think a little bit, but still on the same lines of our business. With Sean's call every Friday, pretty sure, sometimes when I get there and I see people like yourself, Frankie, that have listened to Sean already, I wanted to ask, what is Sean, maybe is it everything that he's given you through this business that you learn, or what have you gotten from Sean that has you show up to those calls, even though you've obviously been with him for so long? Wanted to ask you that.
So you guys had, you know what FOMO is, right? Fear of missing out, fear of loss, like, and that's why I always wanted to be in a position of yes from the very beginning of this. And so what does that mean, right? So when a new lead opportunity comes up, the opportunity for travel, the opportunity for a recruiting program, the opportunity to get office, the opportunity to hire staff, people that actually work for you, you always want to be in that position of yes. And to be in a position of yes, you need to have a serious cash flow coming in, right? So if you're helping 10 families a week and they're advancing you 75%, and 5, 10, 15% are going to fall off, so you're depositing 6, 6 times 4.3 is going to be 25 grand, right? And you're spending 4,000 a month on leads, you're spending 1,000 a month on office, you're spending $800 a week on staff. Like you got to stay way ahead of this deal, right? So where like it doesn't matter, it just doesn't matter. So I think the fear of missing out on stuff, the fear of not being able to say yes to something, is something that, and again, Sean sold at an extremely high level, right? And and I don't have like these crazy conversations. I talk to Sean once a month, and that's like for 2-3 minutes. I get more, and that's one of the reasons why I joined the Friday phone call, because I get more time talking with Sean there than I do, just on a normal basis. He's a busy guy, and so am I. But carving that hour out, those 4 hours out of 168 that we get in a week, it's kind of a no brainer. 4%, 2-3% of the week, is on that call. But I think I think that would be the big thing. And, and I just don't want to let anybody down, and I want to win for FFL. I want to win for integrity. I want to win with the people that have decided to work with me. Because when I recruit people, like I tell them, like, this is not easy. You're probably going to quit, so I'd rather you quit now before you even waste any of your time or my time. Because this is how it's going to stink. And this is where it's going to be really, really difficult. And because I want people to win, and I know that they can win, but most people are not going to have the drive to get to the finish line, And Sean told me, I mean, I sat in his office when he was still working out of Connecticut, and he's like, Schmidt, I don't know if you're going to be any good at this or if you're going to suck at it, but if you work as hard as you did in the car business, then you're probably going to be good. But I don't know, you might suck at it, So, so I wasn't going to lose. I wasn't going to lose.
Yeah. No, and I respect Sean a lot. And just hearing how, you take the time and carve it out. To me, that's what I see in that, is seeing, you're someone I look up to doing really well in the industry. If you just had to put in general, when you look at people growing up, you're like, oh, he has something for himself. And just to know that that's the podcast that you plug into, to me, that's really valuable. And to me, a no brainer why everyone here doing the same thing and trying to achieve the same things. If Eric Schmidt is, I mean, there's so many people on that call. I could keep going on, like Zach Twardowski. There's legends on legends that obviously are following Sean for the same exact reason. So that's why, Eric, I wanted to hear your own personally, but that's awesome.
Well, I think too, and I think, going back to Makai's, question, like, how do you recruit people getting into this? Like, I need to be, dude, I'm nothing special. Like, I'm not young. I'm just a regular person with no hair and a big head, So, I mean, how am I going to attract people to get into this business? I'm going to attract people to get into this business because I'm going to work harder than the average person. Okay. I'm going to be on every call, like I said it the other day, I see, like if every call I'm on, Desiree's on. I'm like, well, how's that even, possible? But she's on every call. Right. So how am I going to, prove to people that I'm working? Well, I'm on our team dial Zoom every single day. I buy leads every single week. I post in our Slack when I sell. I post in our Slack when we have other things going on. When I'm invited to go on calls like this, I say yes. It's 9:09 in Connecticut. My son's at some scary movie, Long Legs, that he's probably going to come home freaked out about, some horror movie. One of my daughters is at a sleepover, and my other daughter's here. My wife's waiting for me to come upstairs. So but this is how you're going to continue to build a super strong foundation that you can build something off of that'll last a lifetime. So that's why I do it. That's why I sell policies every week. That's why I want to hit Hall of Fame this year. And I'm starting to feel a little bit stressed out. I know that it's not going to be because of a lack of effort or a lack of leads. It's but it's tough. I get told no. I have days when I blank out, but you're going to have days that stink. You're going to have weeks that stink. But if you're working an entire real month, then you'll never have a bad month. It's just not possible,
Yeah. No, that's real motivating, Eric. I can feel it from you. And I hope that everyone else here can too. Cause I mean, I honestly don't know your age, but I can imagine you're not in your 20s like
52,
most of us.
52.
And you're
52.
running like mad fire, like Sean says. You set yourself on fire, everyone's watching. I didn't know you had this much energy, Eric. Honestly, as I see every call, I'm like, I honestly get the most energy when I see you in person, because you're just so authentic and you're really present. You're good at being present,
Usually out of breath and sweating when you see me in person.
You are sweating in our pictures.
Well, dude, it's hot up on that stage.
It does. But guys, I appreciate you, Eric. If you guys want to give a big thank you, I know we, honestly, Instagram works. If you guys even just post a big thank you to Eric, or even just text him genuinely, obviously, I can.
Yeah, hit me up on Instagram, you guys. I'm on there.
Yeah. Yeah. And guys, honestly, it means a lot, Eric. I know it's 9 o'clock. You got an active family. I have a young family, and I can't imagine, the time that they would want with, I just think about my kids are young. I'm like, they can't even tell. Your kids are old. And I feel like, I want to let you go and enjoy that. And I appreciate you so much. I look forward to seeing you the next time I see you in person. If anything I can do, or any of us, let me know. But thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Yeah, and if you guys ever do, you guys have something specific that you have a question about, or you want to just grab 2-3 minutes, hit me up, anytime. Just call me, hit me up on Instagram, and or Facebook, and we'll find a time to connect. But there are no special leads. Okay, so don't call me saying what are the special leads. There's no such thing. Okay, what are the special times to dial? All times are a special time to dial. When should you call someone back on, when should you dial someone 6 times in a row? Yes, you should. Okay. Should you, even though someone says no, should you call them up again, 30 days later just to follow up with them? The answer is yes. Okay. You said you have a bunch of new people on here. If you guys are buying $75, $50, $3 leads, after 30 days, swap. Say, hey, here's my Excel sheet. You send me your Excel sheet. They're all brand new to you, so, start swapping sheets around, text everyone, text people ahead of time, if, I assume most people here have an iPhone, right? So, if you start texting someone and it comes up blue, say, hey, this is Eric calling about the request you submitted to me online, and then when you call them, say, hey, this might be Eric Schmidt. And that's a Tobey trick. I'm sure a lot of other people use it, but I remember Tobey talking about that a long time ago. Go back and listen to a lot of these. There's so many tools, right? When I first started with this thing, there wasn't half the amount of tools. I had crazy anxiety. I didn't know which carrier to go with, which product to go with. But now with like underwriting genies and insurance toolkits, you can really like sound so much smarter than you are in the beginning. So actually, let me share my screen again real fast.
Yeah.
So this is the script that I go off of, right? This is for veterans, okay? So one thing when I get to where is it? So when I get to the banking information, right? So when I start looking for stuff that's affordability, like, so before we go into your eligibility, just so we're on the same page and we're not breaking the bank, at the end of the month, what's typically left over after all the bills are paid, and then shut up. A lot of times people start to try to answer that question for people, Diego. Well, do you have $10 a month? Do you have $100 a month? Just let them talk. Let them talk. Because most people say, well, I got nothing left at the end of the month. That's okay. You don't have to talk right there. You can let them speak. And you can let people know that there are a couple of discounts that they may qualify for. Okay. If someone tells you that they have the Direct Express card, okay, or the Social Security card, you can say things like, does it start with 5332 or 5115? These are just little things when you say like, oh, this person knows what they're talking about, right? And when you start talking about blood thinners and Plavix and warfarin or nitrostat, or you start asking people what their most recent A1C score is, if they have diabetes, okay, if they're on metformin, or if they're on Jardiance or Genovi or Ozempic or Mounjaro or any of these other GLP-1 drugs, you start, if you sound professional, and you don't have to have everything memorized, you can have it written down, right? If they have neuropathy, if they're on gabapentin or pregabalin or any of the blood pressure medications, okay, that are out there, and then you ask something, well, is that from your primary care doctor or is that from your cardiologist? Okay, normal people don't ask those questions. Our competition isn't asking those questions, but I ask that question because I know if it's their primary care, it might just be a little preventative. But if it's from a cardiologist, and obviously I have heart problems, so I know this, then that's a little bit more serious, right? And asking all these, little types of questions, is super important. If you are working with veterans, understanding how the VA Life program works. And again, you don't have to be an expert on it, but you do know where to get the information from. So these are just little tools that we always just want to have. We need to be the doctor and they need to be the patient, right? When I call you Diego, so Diego, I'll say, Diego, are you single, married, widowed, or divorced?
Married.
Married. I'm married too. My wife's name is Carrie. What's your spouse's name?
Megan.
Megan. Okay. So do you see how I gave information before I asked for information? Okay.
Right.
And did you see how I had a wife, but I asked you if you had what your spouse's name was? I'm not going to assume gender in 2025.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you said your spouse's name is what, Diego?
It's Megan.
Megan. So do you and Megan typically make these types of financial decisions together, Diego, or can you make them on your own?
I already told her I was going to make this happen.
So you told Megan that you were going to be able to make the financial decision tonight on yourself without her?
Yeah, we talked about it as long as we keep it in our budget.
Okay. So as long as it's in your budget, you can make this decision on your own.
Correct.
Perfect. Okay. That's just like my house, Diego. So my wife said I can make the decision on my own and I can go ahead and do that. Now let's do it the other way. Okay. Are you single, married, widowed, or divorced?
Single. Are you married without being able to?
You're still married. Okay. Your wife's name is Megan.
Yeah, Megan.
So can you and do you and Megan make these decisions, financial decisions together, or can you make this decision on your own?
No, she wants to have me get the info and then we're going to look at it.
Okay. So you guys are going to make decisions together, correct?
Right.
Yeah, that's just like my house. Karen and I make all of our financial decisions together. Now, is Megan home right now?
She's just getting in the door.
She just got out of work.
Yeah, she was actually just running an errand after work, and she's home now.
Okay. So do you think she's available right now for the next 20 or 30 minutes, or is she going to come home and kind of unwind and kind of get dinner going and stuff?
Well, she didn't know we were getting this call, so I'd have to check with her.
Cool. So to be respectful of your time and mine, Diego, I'm just going to get some basic information, then we're going to set up our next call so Megan can be involved because I know that's important to your family. Is that fair?
Yeah, that sounds perfect.
Perfect. Okay. So again, I want to be exactly where I'm going to be exactly like you are. Doesn't matter,
Right.
you know, what side you're on. Right? Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah, that was really good.
But I'm not going to run a one leg appointment.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Now, if you tell me in the beginning that you can make the decision on your own, you can be sure I'm going to continue to challenge you throughout. Right. So
Right.
when you see in my script here,
And I'm gonna bug you for it, and I'll get it to the rest of us guys. No
yeah,
worries.
that's cool. So when you see in my script here, I think I just asked it up here: single, married, widowed, or divorced. Oh no, it's what's down in here in the banking. Okay, so I'll say, hey, there's a couple of discounts you may qualify for. Are you a smoker or non-smoker? I'm a smoker. Perfect. Do you plan on quitting in the next 3 years? Yes, perfect. Then you qualify for the discount. I'm a non-smoker. Perfect. You qualify. So whom do you do your banking with here in California? Is it one of those big banks like Wells Fargo or Bank of America, or is it a local credit union? It's a local credit union. Which one? ABC Marketplace. Perfect. We actually are partnered with them on our system, and we do that will qualify for the discount. Do you have checking or savings there, Diego?
We have a bank, so checkings.
You have a checking account?
I didn't get you. Yeah, I have a checkings account.
Okay, perfect. Is that the checking account that you would be using for this monthly premium?
Yeah.
Perfect. And do you have access to the routing number and account number, or do you do your banking online, or do you still have a checkbook like my grandparents do?
I got a checkbook right here.
Okay, cool. Now you could say it the other way. You could say, say you do two banks now. Okay. So do you work with local credit union or one of those big banks?
Uh, you mean I have both?
You have both. Yeah.
Yeah, both.
Okay. So you have Bank of America and ABC Credit Union.
I work with the local BCU here.
Okay, perfect. And which bank would you be using for this monthly premium?
We'll use the BCU one.
And do you have checking or savings there?
Checkings there too.
Okay, so you would be using that checking account for this monthly premium?
Yeah,
Perfect. We're partnered with our system, and that will qualify you for the discount as well.
that's great.
Okay. So again, I want to make sure I mean, I'm not even at, the health questions.
Yeah,
And again, I want to flush out any confusion of this being free, or they're not going to have to pay for it, or they're not going to need the information.
right. And let's say early on they say, well, Eric, who do you work for? Or like, who's this with? Like, who are you calling me with?
Well, my name's Eric Schmidt, and I work with Family First Life in Connecticut. We represent over 26 A-rated carriers around the country, and I'm licensed with every single one of them. Do you accept text messages on this phone?
Yeah. Now, how much is it going to cost me?
Perfect. So I'm going to send you over a text message with my credentials, and it's required here in the state of California in the Department of Insurance to do that. So just let me know when you get that. Okay.
Okay. And you just ignore it, keep going.
Yeah,
Sounds
I'm
good.
not. I mean, I'm in
That
charge.
was great. Yeah, that's
I'm in
great.
charge. So when you get my picture, I'll say, hey, do you see my big bald head there?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. So now these programs are designed to be affordable for residents of California. We're going to spend about a minute or so, blah, 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 blah. Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, I'm in control of this whole entire thing. There's no confusion.
Yeah.
Again, this isn't a perfect script, but we tried to find a way
Here.
to get
With
to the
this
finish
script,
line.
using the script, I like how you're reading the script as you're helping us. I have VA coverage, so I don't know if we're really needing it.
Perfect. And where is your VA life policy?
The VGL, what do they say, Eric? I don't really know.
Yeah, where's the actual policy in your household?
Oh, well, it's one of those that we just pay. We got set up right after I got done.
Got it. So you pass away today. Where does Megan go to get the information?
Well, don't you just file?
I don't know. It's your policy, sir.
That was good.
You know, a lot of people that have these, you know, VA policies or VGLI or SGLI, they kind of really don't know what they have, right?
Yeah.
So what I always have up and ready is is it here? I always have this page up and ready. All right, so whenever I have a VA life question, I can just go right to it. If someone says, you know, how much is it? How do I qualify? How much is it a month? I can just answer those questions. Because I don't know if they're testing me, Diego, and they already know the answer,
Yeah.
or they don't know the answer and they want the information. But what a lot of people don't know, okay, is they have to have a disability rating to qualify. Okay. They're going to only get 2.35% interest if they pass away in the first 2 years. Okay. They have to make a double payment to start. Okay. So if they're 71 and they want $81.80, they have to start by sending them 163.60. Okay. You know, so
And
a
which
lot of
page is
people
that,
don't know
Eric?
that they make.
Did you share a new screen outside of the PDF?
Oh, you know what? Hold on. It says paused. Give me a second. I'm sorry. All right. Can you see this one now?
Oh, yeah. And
Yeah.
this is on.
So,
okay, I see.
yeah. So I always have this website up and ready.
Okay, yeah, I see.
You know, and anytime people have a question on, you know, anything regarding VA life, I have it all here. Okay.
Yeah,
you know, so if someone has a question about any of this stuff, VGLI, you know, service disabled, you know, anything like that. And I'll send you guys this link. You probably already have this, Steve, Diego, but if you don't,
yeah.
I'll send you this because there's 60 million veterans. So even if you're not running VA leads, you know, you're still going to run across veterans, right? But hold on 1 second. So this is something that I got from Steve at Transamerica. And I want to send you guys the link because when it changes,
I got it. Yeah.
I want it. You have that link?
No, I'm going to read
Okay.
it. I see what you're saying. I'm going to put it into our chat once I can.
There it is. So whenever this gets updated, you know, you'll have it. So, so this link here, Integrity likes to block everything. This is the flyer. So currently it's $948 for a burial, $948 for a plot. So let's see if I can figure out that. I'm a computer whiz, bro. All right.
There you go.
So yeah, man. So I mean, again, you know, we could go on talking about this for hours, right?
This has been the fourth quarter. You know what they said at the last one? They're like, you stick to the fourth quarter. That's where the real magic happens. You know, you get through the fourth week. That's how I feel about this call. And I was like, you know, I didn't want to take too much of your time, but I really feel like we got that last bit. And honestly, everyone stayed on the call, so I know it was good.
Yeah. So this, I'll email this to you, Diego.
Yeah.
Let me do it now.
Email me that and the script. That'd be amazing.
Well, I put that link in the chat, and then
I'm gonna click on it so I can share it with my group.
And then I'm gonna move this here. Give me a second. Let me just find this here. There it is. Actually, I think I have this saved, so I can just do it this way. What's your email address, Diego?
DiegoVentura.ffl@gmail.com.
All right. Oh, it's saved. Nice. FEX script. Do you guys use insurance toolkits in your agency?
I think some of us do.
Okay. It's a really good tool. Again, being in a position to say yes, right?
Right.
There are some things as an agency owner that you can do to how the hell do I do this here? I hate when it doesn't give me that little envelope. There it is.
To email. There.
No, where is it? If I don't do it now, I'm going to forget. So I'm sorry I'm boring some
I
people
appreciate
here.
it. No, thanks for making this a priority.
Attached file. There it is.
And for the
Updated.
veteran leads, are you buying those on the ILC, or do you have a specific vendor you like to go
Both.
through?
Both.
Yeah.
I don't just, I just don't do one vendor.
Yeah.
I've always had multiple vendors.
Yeah.
Um,
For the veteran leads,
yeah.
are you using a self-generated kind of veteran style, or are you buying them from like a Tips, Tricks, and Closers or Leadrilla?
Yeah, I mean, I get them from a couple different places. Actually, let me share my screen again. But one thing that, when you do, if you do some type of veteran program, having these My Verified Advisor pages like this is always good, because you can get this out to people. You can see my screen, right?
Yeah, I can. It looks good.
Yeah.
I got your email too.
Yeah. So these are always just good to have, to get out to people.
Yeah.
And where is it? So in lifeinsuranceforvets.com about Eric. So this is specific for veterans, and has my information on here. It has some testimonials from some veterans, carriers that we work with, what the VA, get a quote, stuff like that. So
right.
Bunch of different stuff like that. But but this none of those things can happen, right, Diego, if you're not making an immense amount of dials, and you're not getting a lot of people in the beginning of the funnel, and you're not following up, and your persistency is not high, and you're not using legacy safeguard, and you're not taking advantage of your non-money making time, and you're not taking advantage of other zip codes, and you're not going to convention, you're not going to regional conferences, you're not going to lock-ins, none of that other stuff can happen, right? So when you own a business like we do, I mean, you're either all in or it's a hobby, and hobbies don't pay shit. So
yeah, I love that. And your business is going to treat you how you treat it, right? Eric, I love this call. I thank you so much for pouring into us. Really, I feel like
Can I ask?
Yeah, go ahead, Christian.
Yeah, go for it.
Hey, sorry. I wanted to jump before you ran away from the veterans thing. I actually just booked a veteran, like a appointment with a veteran tomorrow. It's like I just need like one or two bullet points that like needs to be said to this person.
Well, one thing I always ask people up front is what their disability rating is. I always I do a lot of yes sir and yes ma'am. I do that on any call because that's the way I was brought up, Christian. I got my butt beat if it wasn't yes ma'am and yes sir in my house when I was growing up.
From the South, I feel you.
Yeah. Ask permission to ask, to call them by their first name, right? And you're going to want to, be comfortable with a lot of the programs that are out there, right? So when you understand how the VA life program works, because a lot of people are like, hey, I'm a disabled vet. They pay for everything. No, they do not. They pay for $1,896, and that's reimbursed after you pass away. And that's the link that I put here at 925, that flyer. So I'd have that flyer up. I'd have, if you guys don't have that page, I'll put it here. And also, don't be afraid to not know every answer, Christian, right? So if someone asks you, if a veteran asks a pretty specific question and you don't know the answer to it, say, you know what, sir, that's an amazing question. I work with veterans 8 hours a day, 6 days a week. I have not had that question yet. I apologize. I'm going to reach out to my senior management. I'm going to get the answer to that question for you right away. If it's really specific and it's kind of like a stopping point and you can't move forward without it, but that typically doesn't happen. But I would, I always start low. Okay. I give people, like, if you look, on my script, I give people the opportunity, I use gold, silver, bronze. A lot of people use a lot of different stuff. I use gold, silver, bronze. Okay. I'll have them write that down. And when I know how much they have left at the end of the month, so let's just say they have, $800 left at the end of the month, Christian, my bronze package is going to be 10% of what they have left. So if they have $800 left at the end of the month, my bronze package is going to be $80. And then it's going to be bronze, silver, gold from there. So when I have my insurance toolkits up, I can put in $80 here. And if their date of birth is 03/28/1952, okay, and they're male and they're in California, I just won't change anything there. I can get an idea of, how much they can get for that $80 a month. And I'm not going to go with the Aflac. Okay. I'm probably going to start here if they're super healthy with CVS, or I'm going to go down to American Amicable, Prosperity, or Americo. Okay. Another cool thing why I'm on this, Diego and Christian, is when they're explaining medications to you, right? To be able to put them in and say, okay, is that for high blood pressure? Yes. Okay. And then when they tell you metformin, then you can put those things in. Is that for diabetes? Do you have any complications? Right. So when you're using a tool like this, and you can put in the actual drugs, like if you put in furosemide, those that have been doing this for a while, we know that that's a congestive heart failure drug, right? So I always have this website up as well, because even though I might not know everything about every drug, I want to seem as intelligent as I possibly can by being able to type those things in. So if it's something with kidney or prostate or cholesterol, and you remember, and again, I don't know if you guys are on every single call, but remember Marco was on a call a few weeks ago, Marco Conde, and his agency is huge and, just exploding, but he does takeaways, right? And if someone says, well, I take Atorvastatin for cholesterol, okay, well, I'm gonna have to call my cholesterol expert to see, where I hear a lot of people say, oh, you're on cholesterol, that's no big deal. Dude, who are you to say it's no big deal? Now are you all of a sudden, the final say in insurance, and you're a doctor, so, everything's a big deal, right? Everything matters. Like Dave Anderson says, everything matters. Everything matters, so,
Right.
But a lot of sirs, a lot of ma'ams, a lot of respect, Christian, having those programs up, knowing, being able to explain how the VA Life program works. There's only 4 programs, 10, 20, 30, 40,000. It's the same price for smokers and non-smokers. It's the same price for male and female. It's a double payment to start. Only earns 2.35% interest for the first 24 months of the program. And you have to have a disability rating to qualify. So knowing the program is good.
Thank you.
And if they have a policy, and I'm sure you guys are trained on this, and I think every FFL, person that's been around for a while, if someone has a policy, your number one job is to spend that money, right? So if I'm talking to Diego and he's like, well, we already have, 15,000. I'm like, perfect. Tell me more about that policy. Well, I don't know much about it. Okay. Well, where do you keep the paperwork? Well, I don't know. Well, does Megan know? No. I'm like, so if you pass away and you don't know where it is, and Megan doesn't know where it is, then what happens? Right.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're in the know, well, what was that $15,000,
Right.
designed to pay for?
Well,
Was that for burial, cremation, funeral, estate taxes, mortgage payments, so on and so forth. Okay. So what would this policy be, go for? Would this be to handle other debt that you guys have, to leave a legacy behind for kids or grandkids, for college, for, for this, that, or the other thing, so you need to spend the money that they already have, because if they feel all excited about this policy that they got, they're not going to be nearly excited about getting another policy, because no one's looking for another bill. So if they have a policy already, Christian, then you need to go spend that money. You need to spend every dollar of it, so they need more. But again, start low. A lot of times they'll say, so were you just looking for something like around 5,000, Derek, or were you looking for something more than that? Well, no, 5,000. They'll say, okay, perfect. So 5,000 is $42 a month. I am obligated to give you 3 options. Silver is this, gold is that. Most of the people I speak with go with the silver program. We can't make our final decision today because it is up to the carriers if they want to approve you. But which one are you most comfortable with today? Or should we look up or down from one of these numbers? perfect. And then you challenge them on it, right? The only reason I'm asking you if this is comfortable for your everyday budget is I want to make sure that your family is in the best financial position possible. Now I'm talking fast because we're getting to the end of this call, but typically I'm low and slow. Low and slow. And that's why I put my phone on do not disturb, because I know I'm late to the next appointment. I know people are calling me. I know I have stuff going on personally, professionally, recruiting, agency wise, that's happening. But talking to Derek, who's my client, is the most important thing that I'm doing right now.
Yeah. That was great.
Right. So hopefully that helps, Christian.
Thank you. It does.
Always lean on professionals. If you're doing a Zoom, like if you do, I don't know if you dial, if you're going to do this appointment while you're on Zoom, but reach out, say, hey, this guy's got this, and this. This person is, 5'2" and 318 pounds. And she's a smoker and she has COPD. Who do I go with? You go with the Sendo. There's no weight chart. COPD is day one.
Right.
But another thing too, if you find someone with a debilitating condition, HIV, amputation because of diabetes, recent stroke, major complications from diabetes, kidney disease, they're on dialysis, just don't cut the underwriting short, go to the very end. Okay. Even though you're going to want to shortcut it, don't shortcut it. So if you find out, at the very top that they have 2 types of cancer that have had the same cancer more than once, that's going to put them in guaranteed issue, but don't stop. Go through the whole entire thing, right?
Yeah.
Because that's going to provide you more leverage as you continue to go, right? Because, people are like, oh, then, this is AIG. Well, okay, well, doctor, expert, super closer, just get to the bottom and go through the process. Continue to go through your script. Continue to go through your script. If you typically get stuck on social, or you get typically stuck on data on banking, then you have to role play that when you have to work on it. You have to get people to throw you objections and you have to try to overcome them. But you do that during non-money making time, which we're in now, depending on where you live in the country. So.
Right. No, we have a little bit more time to dial actually, because we're still in the West Coast. But Eric, this has been insane. You gave us like 2 hours of value the entire time. It's lucky it's recorded for those that weren't here. If they're
not here, the only way they can get the key to this is to show up to Sean's call tomorrow.
Honestly, I don't know why everyone here on this call doesn't go buy that ticket tonight. So
they're all on there. Everyone's going to sign up. Well, I'm going to be on the call tomorrow at 12.
Derek, we're seeing you there tomorrow, right?
Oh, Derek's definitely going to be on it, 1,000%.
Yeah, I could see. I knew Derek was going to come after that.
Can I have questions ready? Get on early.
Definitely early for sure. For sure.
No
well, thank you, Eric, so much.
Yeah, people normally fight for questions on that call. Everyone's like trying to unmute to race to ask Sean a question, but yeah, thank you so much, Eric.
Yeah,
really,
no doubt.
Really. No, it really means a lot. Like I didn't know you as well. And when I got you, I didn't, you never know what to expect, but I'm just so thankful that we were able to get you on, and it makes me want to get you on again. But I know these guys are going to want to hear someone else, but I'm like, we got to get more calls or something. But guys,
really dig deep into this thing, hopefully, I see you guys all in Los Colinas, in 25, but digging deep to this thing, because this is life changing. No disrespect. I can't see everyone's face here, but this has changed our life and our family. Dollars don't dictate our decisions, and it's only going to get better, right? This is an amazing thing that Sean's put together for us, and it's going to be tough. Right. It's going to be really, really, really tough some days, some weeks, some months. You're going to want to quit. And that's when you have to reach outside of your group, and really connect with people, and find some people that are on the same page. And we're all one team here. We're all one team. And that's, it doesn't make a difference to me. I want huge success for this group. And I can't wait to meet you all in person, either in Florida or in Texas. So.
Right. And Eric, I know you really don't get anything from this other than I feel like I'm just pissing off your wife. So if there's anything I can do, let me know. Seriously, if you're in Washington, please come by. We'd love to have you in our office. You have another home here, 100%. And
appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Definitely.
You guys have an amazing time. I'll see you on Instagram, and then I'll see you at the next convention or conference. All right.
Definitely. I'll see you out in Florida. Thank you.
Love you guys. Take care.
Love you.
All right. Thanks, Eric.
Bye.
Bye-bye.